Two losses to Baylor and Virginia that, they're right there. Would be an 8-1 ball club right now. So we understand what incredible challenge it's going to be for us going into Florida to play them.
You talked about the crowd here in Minges and how well your team is fed off that. How are you guys going to create your own energy now going on the road to a hostile?
Yeah, that's what makes road games, and even though it's considered neutral site being in Lakeland, but we know this is going to be a home game for Florida. I think it's just the excitement to play. I mean, I think any coach would say that, and our guys are fired up to play because they get a chance to play a game coming off of a tough loss. But whether we're at home or we're on the road, but that is what makes going on the road or a neutral site more challenging because we know the environment, and it'll be obviously a pro-Florida crowd.
What positives could you take away from the game on Saturday?
We stood in the center of the ring the whole game. We were right where we needed to be. In fact, had a lead late game. Defensively, I thought we guarded really well, about as well as they've been guarded throughout the year. And again, I've said that, or up to this point, I should say, about South Carolina's offense. And I think they're a really good offensive team and defensive team. But I thought we guarded. We just weren't able to execute, critical plays on both ends of the floor, and you give their players, Meechie Johnson and B.J. Mack, great credit. I mean, they made big shots in the last 4 minutes of the game. But as far as positives, it's just that what we tried to do, we were able to accomplish. We just couldn't close it out in the last 2 minutes of the game.
Were you happy with the way your defense played and since from the start to then?
I think over the last 3 games, I think our defense is playing the way we want it to play. Looking at the game, whether we're fortunate enough to come out with a victory or not, you're always going to look at it as a coach and say there's areas we have to be better, and we see the breakdowns, and we've addressed those the last few days. But I've said this many times here, like, this isn't baseball. You're not going to pitch a perfect game ever. But as far as the buy-in and what we're trying to do, I thought our guys did a really good job on Saturday.
It seems like Florida, they have pretty balanced scoring-wise. How do you expect them to attack you tomorrow night?
Yeah, they're an elite offensive team. They're averaging over 80 points a game, I think nearly 84 points a game. Their speed, their size, the way they shoot the basketball, their tempo is one of the very top in the country. They start possessions with elite offense in transition, and they finish possessions with one of the top offensive rebounding teams in the country. So I wish I could pick one way that I know they'll attack us. I think this is an elite offensive team that has a number of guys that could put the ball in the basket and do a lot of things, and that's why it'll be a great challenge for our defense.
You mentioned their offensive rebounding. I think they're 6th or 7th in the country in that. How have you emphasized in practice this week that?
Well, we've been talking about offensive rebounding and teams that are good all year long. This just happens to be the best one that we faced, and we faced some other good ones. We work on it every day. We probably spend 20 minutes a day minimum straight on defensive rebounding. Like, forget anything else. We put a bubble up on the basket. There is no ball going through the basket, and it gets pretty physical in there. But it is probably the single hardest thing to do in basketball, is to get guys consistently to understand blocking out. Shot goes up, guys track the ball. They want to go where the ball is as opposed to running towards someone and hitting somebody. And you just work on it every day. I think we've gotten better. South Carolina had 7 offensive rebounds in the game the other day. The issue is with great teams like South Carolina and Florida, if you're even fortunate enough to keep them under a certain number, when they do get them, they capitalize on them. And South Carolina really capitalized. Every time they got an offensive rebound, they either scored or they got fouled. And it's going to be a real challenge for us because Florida has really good size. They have good speed. They're going to shoot the ball from the perimeter, and you're going to have to go rebound the basketball.
You mentioned getting fouled. That is something they also do. I think they're top 50 in the country in free throw attempts. You mentioned after the game Ezra learning to defend with his chest and not much his hands. Has there been emphasis practice that was this week with him as well as the other bigs?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we never see stuff on film and don't emphasize it in practice. And then a lot of times you're emphasizing in practice and you have success in it, we don't go away from emphasizing it. So whether it's fouling, whether it's defensive rebounding, things that a lot of guys, you want to play aggressive and, you go for the ball, you attack the ball in the wrong area. You work on it every day. And I think Ezra's made strides these last 2 days. But if I knew of a way to snap my fingers and magic potion and you can knock out those habits right away, believe me, we'd do it.
How nice that you get to this point in the semester now where guys can strictly focus on ball, classes are over. How dialed in do you think this group is?
I think that's a really important point. The last week or so, you're heavy academics, so we would be getting ready to go to pregame meal, and guy would be taking a final exam, or right after we meet at night, he goes back to study hall to get ready for a test the next morning, maybe even on the game day. So yeah, it's a great thing I think around the country. All coaches would say this time of year the guys can probably take a deep breath academically for a few weeks and they can really focus on the team. You start to travel. Obviously, we're going to be traveling more here over the next few weeks, and they get more time in the gym. And that's a big thing. Campus becomes a little more empty. Students go home. So you can lock into each other, and I think that's a positive.
How does that size that they have pose a challenge to your offense and what you're going to try and do?
Yeah, again, they're really fast, and they have good size, both sides of the ball. It's not just their size and speed on offense. You know, they're defensively, they do a good job keeping you out of the paint because of their size. Their bigs are mobile. They can block shots, as we talked about, how well they rebound. So, yeah, it's a real challenge for us, you know, in terms of that. And, you know, we hope that we need guys to step up. We need our front court to step up. But I've often said this to you guys here. We need our guards to play big. It's something that it helps us if our guards play big, because we're not going to match up with them size-wise on the front line, but you hope that our guards can give our bigs some help in there too.